So the first bit that needs explaining is where were we before? So we had a terraced house in Worcester. We renovated it over a couple of years, new kitchen, redid the garden and various other pieces, changed the front door. As you can see from these pictures, that is the before and this is the after all of our work. So we spent a lot of time and money doing that to enable us to have a family home, but actually we decided with the cost of living crisis that actually we were commuting from the countryside where we were working in the middle of nowhere basically to the town to go to bed at night. And we just thought, actually, what are we doing? We're spending all this money on fuel, and actually we'd just love to live in the country. We couldn't afford to buy a house where we wanted to be right now, so we have decided that actually we just need to make a temporary home or explore our options by living at my parents' for a little while. So this allowed us to make a mobile home that wasn't a static, because of all the problems that come with a static, which is they lose value very quickly. They're quite cold because they lack insulation and various other things. We just decided actually we wanted to build our own home. So firstly, this is us. This is our baby daughter Isabel, who's 6 months old. That's Will in the background there, and me obviously carrying Isabel, which I'm called Poppy. This is the trailer that we bought for our shepherd's hut, and I'll talk you through the design. So the first part of our project was to design what we wanted the shepherd's hut to look like and be like inside. So we've got 10 feet wide by 28 feet long. That was the dimensions we decided on. We decided we wanted bifolds on 2 of the walls, one in our bedroom and one on the long side of the living room, just so that although we've only got a small space, it doesn't feel small, especially in the summer. We can open those doors up onto a big decked area and have lots of outdoor space as well. You can see the centre room is a kitchen / living room with a little wood burner in there. We've got a small room on the right hand side for Isabel and a little bathroom as well. I'm just showing you here how easy it is to move objects around. The software doesn't provide furniture ready-made. You do have to create it yourself, but it's quite fun to do. This software is called SketchUp Pro. I just used the 30-day trial, which for anyone just wanted to do a single project, gives you 30 days to do a project, and then you get to retain it afterwards. To edit again after that 30 days, you do have to sign up. But you can save it as a PDF, so if you're happy to do it quite quickly, it's really handy. You can see how easy it is to just create little pieces of furniture, so I'm just showing you here, making a little wardrobe for her room, so you can just create it to different dimensions. If you use the little tape measure icon, you can actually measure it as well, and you can create everything to scale. Which was a really handy point for this. Obviously, because it's a compact area, we needed to make sure that we could fit the furniture we wanted to into specific areas. We also wanted to decide how much light was going to get in each room, where to put the windows, so that when we're building it, we know before we even get in there what each room needs to be like, instead of trying to do it freestyle, which is our normal way of doing things, but we wanted to be a bit more planned with this project. So you can see there I'm just making it into what they call a component. It just means then I can move it around without it trying to warp itself, because otherwise you do find that some of the objects just won't play ball when you try and move them. But then you can use the little bucket to change the colour, which I do in a second. to make it so it's like wood effects. They have quite a good library of different textures, so you can make everything a bit more aesthetically pleasing on your plans. Really handy software. Yeah, I really enjoyed using it. So next on the agenda was actually getting the frame. We decided to have somebody who could, Will knows the name of it better than I do, but they basically laser cut it out of plywood, all of the pieces, which arrived then on a small pallet, which I'll talk about in a little bit. This is the plan, the diagram. It's 10 foot wide by 28 feet long, and you can see there those are the measurements and the internal heights that we've got. So this here is a 3D diagram provided by the guy who actually made the wooden pieces for us. It shows you visually what it will look like when all those pieces are together. Turn around, there's 15 little segments, little hoops, which will show you a little bit how they get put together. So you're probably wondering why we went for the dimensions we did. We discussed it at length and decided that 10 feet wide and 28 feet long was a really good compromise that allowed us to have a tiny home that was movable, so that if we decide that we're actually going to move in the future to our own piece of ground, that we still can take it on the road and move it with a tractor without having to compromise on the space. So 10 feet by 28 feet is actually the size of a small static caravan, so it meant that we could take some inspiration from some of their plans and how they'd design the inside of those to design this for ourselves. Will was very firm though that he didn't want any corridors as their wasted space. You can see here as well that we've actually gone for quite a small bedroom compared to the living area. We wanted to maximise the space that we had in that living area, and kind of said as long as we could fit a king size bed in, but actually how much time do we spend in the bedroom? Probably not a lot. We're outdoor people, so we didn't need a huge bedroom, just storage space and a bed. We also decided that we could have the TV on the wall, and also I love breakfast bar. I hate dining room tables, I love breakfast bars, just because they're just more economical on space. You've got a surface instead of a table in the middle of the room. Another future proofing aspect of this design is actually the bifolds in our bedroom on that end allow us that in the future we could make it into an L shape shepherd's hut, so we could add another one onto the end, make the bedroom our living room, and then move the bedrooms round the corner into the new attached shepherd's hut, which we've seen done in a lot of Airbnb style places, and we thought actually that's a really good future proofer in case our family grows. So the start of the build, we had a pallet arrive. You can see the blue pallet in the background here, with all of these little pieces which are laid out on the floor in the foreground of this photo, all numbered, and we thought, oh my goodness, what have we done? They all have to go together individually with wood glue and screws. As you can see, we're here placing them together, so we laid out them in number order, glue in the centre, put the next pieces on top, and then he uses a impact driver to screw the screws into the wood, so you keep those two pieces together so the glue can make it nice and strong. We like to call these the hoops. I was going to say I thought that it would arrive with the hoops already ready-made done. They didn't. They've from flatpack, a bit like IKEA furniture. And so, yeah, this was the first hoop. We were quite optimistic, but also a bit dubious of actually how difficult this could be and how long it was going to take. But actually it started coming together quite quickly. After we'd done the first hoop, which probably took Will the best part of an hour and a half maybe to make this first one, then actually when he's got to more of them, which actually there's a total of 15 that he's had to make, he now can put them together in about 20 minutes. So actually he's really cracked on, and they haven't taken as long as we thought in the end. Yeah, I've sped up this video just because otherwise you'd literally be watching glue dry. But as you can see, it's quite time consuming putting all these pieces together to get the double skin of wood to make one single hoop. Yeah. We quickly realised that actually we needed quite a lot of glue, and we at this stage ordered some online, as Will likes to call it, the big vat of glue, as yeah, it takes quite a lot. And screws. We had to go for quite a few trips to our local shop to go get screws. I think we again didn't quite comprehend how many of those it would take. Okay. So all of these pieces, as I mentioned before, were numbered. We had 1 to 10 on one skin of the hoop, and 10 to 20 on the other skin, and you literally laid those two on top of each other. The pieces, obviously the joints don't marry up identically. That is to give it more strength. So yeah, so it is 2 layers of ply thick on each hoop to give it some rigidity. Will started to use what we ended up calling like the noggins afterwards to square up those holes, because the holes and those pieces of wood that he's using there are actually what connects the hoops together when it becomes a bigger structure. He later on realised that actually he needed to do that for every single one of those squares, otherwise those hoops don't fit together, which was quite frustrating for us when we first put the first two together. You'll see shortly. But yeah, so anyone watching this video, make sure those squares line up. Don't worry so much about the outside.
Bit wobbly. How do you feel about it? Feel it's easy enough?
Yeah, it's very time consuming.
How many of those have you got to make?
I don't know, hundreds. I don't know, 20.
Okay.
No,
It hasn't taken you very long.
Is it 20? No, it'd be 10, wouldn't it? They're 600 apart. 6 metres. 10.
Yeah.
That's not too bad then.
Hasn't taken you very long at all.
I could probably do what? 3 in a day?
I don't know, it's only taken you about an hour?
No, it's took me longer than that.
No, but those, you've just done half of it while I've been here.
The easy half.
Yeah, okay. I reckon it only takes you about an hour to do each one. Especially once you get your eye in, like if you're doing loads of them, like, and then you have to put them all together.
So this is the lovely spot where we're actually going to put our shepherd's hut. You can see we'd laid out the pieces all in number order, so that we can easily do them for the hoops, and this is the first hoop that we actually constructed, leant up against our trailer. I haven't really said much about our trailer, but we got it off eBay. It's a bale trailer, and it will make a perfect base for our shepherd's hut. Surprisingly, I actually counted correctly. The first time I counted 14, and it was a total of 15 hoops. So this is when we realised actually it was going to be 15, and I had to go back and tell Will that it wasn't the 10 that he thought, and that it was going to take us slightly longer because it was indeed 15 hoops to put together. of these. So this is frame number 2 being put together here. Will is using the same process. This is Mitsubishi, who is a Lurcher Cross. She's our dog, Will's dog predominantly. This is Suzuki, which is, she's my dog. She is a Saluki Cross and she is a rescue. They both love the outdoors, hence we are really passionate about living in the countryside. And yeah. As you can see, they are sometimes well behaved, but they are a little bit wild. As you can see there, running around like hooligans, so they really didn't suit town life. They were quite anxious, so that was one of the reasons we decided actually hut life was probably better than house life for us as a family. So I've already introduced Isabel, but she's our daughter. She oversees the project, she makes the big decisions, and yeah, she can't really help much, but we're hoping actually this video will be nice for her in the future. She can look back on what our little house looked like before it was even built. So it's almost a storybook for her as much as it is for us and for others to enjoy. She is very nosy. And takes everything in. You can see here. So at this stage we got the first 2 hoops together. We actually realised we'd failed at this point because the 2 hoops didn't connect together correctly with the wooden pieces. They wouldn't fit through the square holes correctly because we hadn't lined up or prioritised the lining up of the squares. We'd lined up the outer edges. So when we started building the next hoops, we made sure that we put all of the little noggins in to make sure they were the priority, they were square. Because actually the OSB later on of the build could take up the little margins of error on the outsides. Frustrating, but a learning curve, especially in the first 2 bits. So we're really glad we put those 2 together just to try it, because otherwise we wouldn't have a clue that we'd made that mistake.
Jump up and down on it like your dad did. Come flying through the top. Yeah, that's definitely not strong.
So with a bit of motivation, he then started getting the rest of the hoops together. He's much quicker with it now. He's lining on top of each other, and they're taking about 20 minutes each hoop, which is much better. And so he started feeling it wasn't going to be the endless project it felt like at the start. A running joke with us now is the whistling of the nursery rhymes, Isabel's nursery rhymes. as they get stuck in our head, and we just start singing them when we're doing things. You can see Will here putting what we call those noggins into the holes. I keep referring to them as squares, but they're actually probably more rectangle, but in essence it's the same thing. He is just putting them in every single hole to make sure that it really is square, so that when we come to put those hoops together they actually connect instead of being stood with flimsy hoops. So with some help from my dad, we managed to get the shepherd's hut onto the trailer. We haven't got any videos of that process because it was a bit sketchy, but it's on and it's in place, and we can see the full height now, which I think is taller than either of us thought it was going to be. You can see Will is very pleased with his work, and so now it's just to get the rest of the hoops on. For those wondering how we managed to get it up onto the trailer, we actually used a Merlot, which is like a big green agricultural forklift truck, and that lifted it into place with the help of another tractor the other side to counter it. So yeah, quite complex. I'm really glad I wasn't there for that bit. Here he is with his friend Mike, getting the end hoops in place, and here is the final project. Full length, just with the OSB to go on now to clad it before the official outside cladding and roofing goes on it. You can see Mitzi is very pleased with her new home, and yeah, it's got a slight overhang on the trailer which we hadn't anticipated, so we have now got to extend the trailer. I think we miscalculated that one, but for an eBay purchase the trailer was just too good a buy to let go, really. So here you can see Will is putting on the last of the OSB board off this first side. It's starting to look like a real structure now, which is really exciting, because the project's all coming together, and it's actually come together a lot quicker than either of us thought it would. We've only had the pieces now for 2 weeks on Monday, so actually to get this far is brilliant, and makes me feel like it won't be Christmas before we're in our new home. I should also add he works in the week, so this is literally evenings, weekends, spare time that he's doing this, so he is doing pretty well to get this far this quickly. You can also see he uses his Land Rover as a ladder all of the time. So he has now had to climb over the jumper to come and get the ladder, which originally should have been there properly in the first place, but he just likes to use the Land Rover for anything he possibly can. So this is the first look around of the OSB on the one side completed. You can see the structure's really coming together. Isabel is definitely impressed, as much as Will says she's not. She's trying out her new bedroom. You can see he's had to make cuts into the OSB on the roof to make it so that it can curve. He assures me that that is still structurally sound and it's going to be fine for him to climb on top of to roof at a later date. So I trust his judgment, hopefully. Though he does keep falling through that floor, so I have said that is the next thing.
What are you doing?
Is that going to be your bedroom? Is it? Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 yes.
You call it like Bell's bus.
It's not technically a bus.
So, with the one side complete, it's just the rest of the OSB on the other side and the roof to do, which is going to do several cuts in the roof to be able to bend that board to the top, so that's going to be quite complex. But yeah, the project is all coming together. So that brings us to the end of our first video. I hope you all enjoyed the progress that you've seen so far and you found it interesting. So next time we hope to be starting to tick off some of the items on our shopping list. So getting our floor, insulation in the roof, floor and walls, windows and bifolds ordered, cladding ordered, and just really cracking on with it really. So fingers crossed next time we see you, the hut will have done another massive leap of progress. So yeah, many thanks for watching.